Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Waiver Wire slash Streamable edition of the YouTube channel. As everybody that's been riding along with me all season long, you guys do know that it typically comes out on a Wednesday night, but because of the schedule shifting of the NFL, I've had to shift the scheduling of my content. And you guys are actually getting this a lot earlier than probably expected. I told you guys last week that you would be getting this on a Wednesday night. Obviously, this is about 2:30 Eastern time zone on a Wednesday when I'm recording this. I found out yesterday that my job was going to be letting us out a little bit earlier than I was expecting. I thought we were going to work our normal work hours today, and it turns out we got out a lot earlier than I was planning on it, which is good for me. More time off. More time for me to get all this content creation done today so I can kind of enjoy my Christmas vacation off from work. So yeah, you guys know what to expect. I'm gonna go into my waiver wires. Oh, yeah, and I hope you guys, but obviously if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you made it to the second round of your playoffs. Maybe you had a first round bye. So do want to congratulate you guys. I'm gonna keep everybody updated. I am currently right now 3 out of the 5 leagues I'm in. Still in the playoffs. Had a couple. Had one first round. I had two first round buys. Won one of my weekends matchups. Unfortunately, lost the other two. I know everybody is probably in the same boat as me, where a lot of players that you are expecting to perform for you did not show up. That definitely happened in the one league. One of my main money leagues that I count on. Unfortunately, I did lose in that league. I had Kyler Murray, Alvin Kamara, Michael Carter. I'll give Terry McLaurin the benefit of the doubt because of the quarterback situation. I was betting on his ceiling play because I thought the other guys on that team would have had a higher floor for me. Dallas Goedert came through. I'm okay with what Javonte Williams did. I'm trying to remember the roster. I think that's all of the. Yeah, well, Michael Pittman Jr. got ejected. Me and my good friend Eric were texting with each other because he has Michael Pittman on a couple of his rosters. So both of us were pretty upset about that. So yeah, that's one of the teams I thought I was going to go on a deep run with, end up losing. So hey, it happens. That was one of the leagues I get. We do weekly payouts, so I've already won back my money. Hey, by the way, if you're watching this video, you're the commissioner of the league, go ahead and send that $100 back to me sooner than later, please. I would like that now that I'm out of the playoffs. So yeah, we do a little weekly payout to the top highest score of the week. But why don't you guys are not here to hear about Cody's downtime in fantasy. So why don't I go ahead and get into my top waiver wire targets for the second round of the playoffs in fantasy football. I'm going with a guy that I had last week. I'm going with Justin Fields, the Bears rookie quarterback. He's available in 74% of the leagues. This past Monday night against that Vikings defense, he had the 285 passing yards, a touchdown. What I always like about him and what I will like about him going forward for next year in fantasy football, he's going to give you a floor because of his rushing ability. He had 7 rushes for 35 yards. Now this week they are going against the Seahawks defense. Now, spoiler alert, I am going to talk about the Seahawks defense as a potential good play. But with that being said, I think just with Justin, he just offers you a high floor because of his rushing ability. So I still think he's a good play. That Seattle defense is banged up right now. They're pretty much out of the playoffs, so it's not like they have something to fight for any longer. Last night they still technically had a shot. That's why I thought that defensive front was battling it out like they were. But with that being said, I could seen being a sneaky good play for Justin. But the fact is, because of his high rushing floor, he's always going to have the ball in his hands. He's been producing as a fantasy quarterback. Like this week, he finished as a top 12 guy, if I'm remembering that correctly. So he's definitely a guy that I think that if you guys were looking to stream a quarterback, he's somebody I would consider this week. Then my running back out of the week, yes, the guy that upset everybody that played Myles Gaskin this week. And I understand everybody's pain. I definitely did play Gaskin in one of the leagues. No, wait, that's the league I had a buy in. I lied. I probably would have played him because they were going against the Jets. It was the best matchup of the week. But we'll have to see how the situation plays going forward. But with that being said, I do think Duke Johnson is worth an add. You have to at least add him. If you're a Gaskin owner, you have to at least attempt to own both of them. He, of course, no surprise, is available in 98% of the leagues. In that matchup, that he had a juicy matchup for him. He had the 22 rushes for 107 yards. He had the 2 touchdowns, and he had the 1 receptions for 20 yards on 1 target. Now, this is how I'm viewing Duke right now. Is I think he's worthy of a bench ad, but I would not play him this week. I highly advise not playing him this week because they're going against the Saints. I have yet to look at the numbers, but I'm assuming the Saints are still the best defense against running backs in fantasy this year. So it's a bad matchup. So you could take advantage of the bad matchup. And then what we also need to see is we do need to see if Duke is going to dominate the backfield and touches like he did this past weekend, or if it was a fluke, if it is going to be more of a 50-50 situation. Maybe Myles Gaskin was not well conditioned coming off the COVID list, and maybe that's why Duke had to take most of the carries on, because he was not ready to play and do his normal snaps that he does. So what you could do is you could see this weekend, see how the situation plays out between Gaskin and Johnson, and see who's getting the most snaps, who's getting the most touches. And then if you're comfortable, then maybe you can slide them into your flex during the championship week. Moving on to my wide receiver ad of the week, it's going to be Gabriel Davis, the Bills wide receiver. He's available in 81% of the leagues. This past weekend, he had 5 receptions for 82 yards. He had the 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. He's been productive over the last couple of weeks in fantasy. Now, he has a little bit tougher of a matchup. They are going against the Patriots this week, but he has a couple things that are working in his favor. Emmanuel Sanders, I'm not sure where if he's going to be able to return this week. So you got him dealing with an injury. B, Cole Beasley's out of this matchup. He did test positive for COVID. Everybody knows from the summer, Cole Beasley is unvaccinated. So when you're unvaccinated and you test positive, you're automatically out for 10 days, even underneath the new advised protocol. So he is out of this matchup, so that means more targets for Gabriel Davis. I do think he's a sneaky play, even though the matchup is very tough. Obviously, the Bills want to avenge their loss from a couple weeks ago. They still have an opportunity to win the division from New England, so they're going to want to ball out. So I think Gabriel Davis, despite the matchup, might be a nice little play for people. I think more of a wide receiver 3, maybe sneaky low end wide receiver 2, just because if Sanders is out, and if it's Sanders and Beasley, then I actually kind of uptick him even more because he should see a higher amount of targets this week. My tight end out of the week, I'm going with the guy that's kind of developing some chemistry with Justin Fields. As everybody knows, typically a rookie's quarterback's favorite player to throw to is a tight end. And that's Cole Kmet. He's available in 75% of the leagues. This past weekend had the 6 receptions for 71 yards on those 9 targets. And then it's all about getting ready for next year, right? Now, yeah, I'm in the boat that more than likely Matt Nagy is not going to be the head coach of the Chicago next year. They're going to blow it up. But with that being said, the organization, is still wants to see young guys develop. Makes no sense to really play much of a Jimmy Graham at this point of the year. So I think that should make Cole Kmet see as many snaps as he can handle. And then as long as he could continue to get that 7 to 9 target range, I think he's a decent fantasy tight end going forward for the rest of the playoffs. I mean, people just lost TJ Hawkinson. We don't know if Darren Waller is going to be back. Travis Kelce's on the COVID list. Now, he is able to potentially return if he can test out of the protocols because he is vaccinated. But you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking for a tight end to possibly stream, Cole Kmet would not be a bad option for you to consider. My flex ad of the week. This guy was on my list a couple weeks ago, and he's making his return. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Lions wide receiver. He's available in 70% of the leagues. This past weekend, he had 8 receptions for 90 yards, a touchdown on 11 targets. See, that's the thing. I think this is like 3 or 4 weeks in a row he's gotten those double-digit targets. So he's going to see a lot of targets. He's got a good matchup this week, too, against the Falcons. Outside of A.J. Terrell, you could kind of pass against that defense. But with that being said, there's a little caveat because that defense I'm actually going to be talking about shortly. Another spoiler. With the I drew a blank there. With the Lions, Jared Goff has tested positive for COVID. Obviously that kind of hurts that chemistry that Jared Goff has been developing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But if he is able from, they never ruled him out right away, so I'm assuming he's vaccinated, so he should be able to come back. If he doesn't come back, then I believe it's Tim Boyle as a starting quarterback. So that kind of makes you wary on Amon-Ra St. Brown if you could trust that. But he's still definitely worth a bench at. I mean, he's getting double-digit targets every week, and he's at the point where he's kind of like a wide receiver too with the amount of volume he is seeing at this point. So again, my waiver wire targets for the second week in the playoffs: Justin Fields at the quarterback position, Duke Johnson at the running back position, Gabriel Davis at the wide receiver position, Cole Kmet at the tight end position, and Amon-Ra St. Brown at the flex position. Moving on to the top streamable defenses. This week is very rough for you guys, so if you've been doing what I've been doing and streaming defenses all year, you might be looking at the scraps. Now, it depends on the size of your league. I'll go ahead and talk about it. In a 10-man league that the other main league I'm trying to win right now, I did pick up the Chargers defense against the Texans, but according to my availability, they had they're at like 53, 54% availability. That's way over the cutoff bar, so that's why I cannot talk about them. So the people that meet that cutoff threshold where they have to at least have 50% or more availability for me to talk about on this segment, yeah, it's very slim pickings out there. So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and dive into this. My top streamable defense, I'm going to say Falcons against the Lions. The Falcons defense, they do have some good pieces on it. AJ Terrell, I love that kid. He was a top 5 cornerback for me in his draft class, and he's actually ascended faster than I thought he could. He's playing really good football this year. Grady Jarrett's still a good top 10 D tackle in this league, if not top 5. And you guys still got Foyeside Oluokun. You still got Deion Jones, and there's some nice little pieces. Dante Fowler's there. So they got some nice, talented guys on that side of the ball. So it's not like they're scrap heap or anything like that. And then they're going against the Lions, who, the Lions have been playing really good football over the last, that's an exaggeration. They've been playing solid football over the last month. They are fighting hard, which I told people, like, if you look at these bad teams that are fighting hard, that are looking kind of good at this time of the year, that's signs of good coaching and maybe a potential of a turnaround next year. So anyways, with the Lions, Jared Goff is still Jared Goff at the end of the day. If he does test out and he does play this game, he's always good for a fumble. He's always good for interceptions. Do you like that turnover potential? And then if it's Tim Boyle, right, it's a backup quarterback. So that even offers more turnover potential. That offers more sack potential because he's not comfortable being on the field. He can hold the ball too long. I mean, we saw that last night with Garrett Gilbert. A little different situation. Tim Boyle's been the backup all year. Gilbert joined him last, Friday. But that's my whole point, is backups, kind of their timing of playing on the field can be off at times. So if you're looking for a streamable defense, especially in the deeper leagues, maybe you could consider the Falcons. My other streamable defense, I am going to go with those Seahawks against the Bears. Like I mentioned, I don't know if it was because they're still kind of had technically a shot for the playoffs and they were fighting hard, the divisional matchup. But that being said, that defensive front was harassing Matthew Stafford all throughout the night. The Bears' deep offensive line is no better than the Rams' offensive line, so they do offer the sack potential. Justin Fields, the thing is with him, you don't have to worry about his turnovers if you play him in fantasy, right? So with that being said, he has kind of been turning the ball over at times. He does have those interceptions. On that Monday night game, he had that fumble that he lost. So there is that turnover potential, and there's always that sack potential with how that Seahawks defensive front is playing right now. So I think they are also a decent option for you guys to stream this week. My number 3 streamable defense of the week, I'm going with the Raiders against the Broncos. The Raiders are available in 92% of the leagues. I definitely still like their bookend rushers with Max Crosby and Ngakoue. And they got some decent pieces like Casey Hayward. The other Clemson cornerback I'm forgetting that played with AJ Terrell for 1 year. He's still a good player. He's just drawing a blank on me. Sorry about that, guys. So, yeah, they still got some pieces that could potentially create those turnovers. So, and then they're going against the Broncos offense, which is very hit and miss this season. It does sound like, I believe, Drew Lock is going to be the starting quarterback, so he's always good for turnovers as well. So I like the turnover and sack potential from the Raiders defense this week. My next, I'm going to go ahead. The next 4 and 5 are from the same game. I got the starting with the Jaguars though. 94% of the leagues are available against the Jets. They definitely let me down last week. I did play them in that main league. I lost them, but it wouldn't even matter if they even put up a decent outing. But with that being said, I do think the Jaguars could be a sneaky play this week. They are going against that Jets offense, which has not had a lot of happening. They just got dealt with a wave of COVID tests, including like Michael Carter, the running back. So they might be a team that's missing pieces on that offense this week. Their head coach has tested positive. Again, we'll have to see where they're at the end of the week, because now the new protocol allows people to test out of it easier. But with that being said, Zach Wilson is, he still has to play consistently for all 4 quarters. So you got the sack potential here. You got the turnover potential. I've said this before, guys. Sometimes you gamble on a bad matchup. It doesn't always go your way. Like I learned last week with the Texans and Jaguars. I played the wrong defense, but sometimes it's worth the gamble, because random stuff happens. Punt returns, interception return, touchdowns, stuff like that you can get points from. And sticking with that matchup, the Jets available in 98% of leagues versus the Jaguars. Now both of these teams, guys, this is like 12, 14, 16 team league plays. So these are very desperate. But again, there's not a lot of great streamable matchups with the 50% availability threshold I put on this. But to sell it though, I can't believe this, but Trevor Lawrence hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since October. That offense is bad. They did not step up like I thought they would last week after the post-Urban Meyer bump. So it's clear there's a lot of issues going on in Jacksonville, and it might be more than just Urban. So with that being said, that offense hasn't showed anything promising. I know it's the Jets defense, but again, sometimes you just gamble on a bad a matchup that's full of that's combined with both bad teams, and sometimes it rolls in your favor. So again, my top streamable defenses for this week entering the week: Falcons against the Lions, Seahawks against the Bears, Raiders against the Broncos, Jaguars against the Jets, and the Jets against the Jaguars. So yeah, that is this week's top streamable defenses and top waiver wire episode. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button. If this is your first time in watching me and you're like, dang, that guy really has a nice Santa hat on, hit the subscribe button. And then other than that, guys, kind of reminders on my content creation schedule for the week. I will be doing my top starts and sits for fantasy for the second week of the fantasy football playoffs. That will be coming out tomorrow. I would look around noon. I would imagine that getting uploaded right there around the lunch hour. So look for it around then. And then my weekly preview, typically I do that on Saturdays. Saturday's Christmas. Saturday has 2 Christmas games. So I'm going to do that Christmas Eve morning on Friday. I was originally going to do it tomorrow, but because of the whole schedule shift of the NFL, I've had to push back everything a day. I'm going to get that out Friday. If you guys got time to watch it, great. Other than that, I know, like, even if you're watching this video, I appreciate it. It is Christmas week. It is the holiday week, so I understand people are traveling, people are busy. So anybody that's taking their time to watch out these videos, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Other than that, I will see all you guys tomorrow when I do my top starts and sits for this week's playoffs. So see you guys then. Peace out.